Supreme Court strikes down Biden's student loan forgiveness plan. The Supreme Court on Friday struck down President Joe Biden's student debt relief plan. The ruling matched expert predictions, given the justice's conservative majority. Education officials, however, warned of a historic rise in delinquencies and defaults. Today's decision is an absolute betrayal to 40 million student loan borrowers counting on an impartial court to decide their financial future based upon the established rule of law, said Prigozhin, deputy executive director at the Student Borrower Protection Center. The Supreme Court on Friday struck down President Joe Biden's federal student loan forgiveness plan, denying tens of millions of Americans the chance to get up to $20,000 of their debt erased. The ruling, which matched expert predictions given the justice's conservative majority, is a massive blow to borrowers who were promised loan forgiveness by the Biden administration last summer. The 6-3 majority ruled that at least one of the GOP-led 6 states that challenged the loan relief program had the proper legal footing, known as standing, to do so. More from Personal Finance. Borrowers brace for student loan payments to resume. Millions of borrowers to have new student loan servicer. 1 in 5 student loan borrowers may struggle when payments resume. The High Court said the president didn't have the authority to instruct his education secretary to cancel such a large amount of consumer debt without authorization from Congress. Can the secretary use his powers to abolish $430 billion in student loans, completely canceling loan balances for 20 million borrowers, as a pandemic winds down to its end, wrote Chief Justice John Roberts in the majority opinion for Biden v. Nebraska. We can't believe the answer would be yes. Roberts also said the president's plan would cause harm to Missouri, as it would have reduced profits at the Missouri Higher Education Loan Authority, or MOHELA. Under the secretary's plan, roughly half of all federal borrowers would have their loans completely discharged, Roberts wrote. MOHELA could no longer service those closed accounts, costing it, by Missouri's estimate, $44 million a year in fees. The plan's harm to MOHELA is also a harm to Missouri. Legal experts and advocates recently poked holes in the state's argument that Biden's plan would reduce MOHELA's bottom line. They pointed out that the lender's revenue was actually expected to rise because of some student loan servicers recently leaving the space and it picking up extra accounts. I was surprised the court found Missouri had standing, said higher education expert Mark Kantrowitz. The debts of MOHELA are not the debts of the state. And MOHELA is able to sue on its own, so why didn't it bring its own lawsuit? In a statement Friday, Biden called the Supreme Court's decision wrong and accused Republicans of hypocrisy. They had no problem with billions in pandemic-related loans to businesses, including hundreds of thousands and in some cases millions of dollars for their own businesses. And those loans were forgiven, Biden said. But when it came to providing relief to millions of hardworking Americans, they did everything in their power to stop it. In a briefing Friday afternoon, Biden said his administration was looking for another avenue to deliver student debt relief. An absolute betrayal for borrowers, say advocates. Consumer advocates slammed the ruling and accused the court of bias. Today's decision is an absolute betrayal to 40 million student loan borrowers counting on an impartial court to decide their financial future based upon the established rule of law, said Prigozhin, deputy executive director at the Student Borrower Protection Center, an advocacy group. Astra Taylor, co-founder of the Debt Collective. 2 of those legal challenges made it to the Supreme Court. One brought by 6 GOP-led states, Nebraska, Missouri, Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, and South Carolina, and another backed by the Job Creators Network Foundation, a conservative advocacy organization. While the justice's decision largely matched the predictions of many legal experts, some saw it going another way, especially after the Supreme Court heard oral arguments at the end of February. Fordham law professor Jed Schugerman said at the time that he was struck by the brilliant performance of Solicitor General Elizabeth Prigozhin, the lawyer who argued on behalf of the Biden administration and its relief plan. She may have snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, Schugerman tweeted. When the justices expressed skepticism that the HEROES Act of 2003 allowed such a large cancellation of student debt, Prigozhin remained adamant that the president was acting squarely within the law's scope to avoid borrower distress during national emergencies. There hasn't been a national emergency like this in the time that the HEROES Act has been on the books that's affected this many borrowers, Prigozhin said. And so, I think it's not surprising to see in response to this once-in-a-century pandemic. This is breaking news. Please check back for updates.